Who's handling makeup? Nobody?
Sean's got some.
Yeah, right.
So good afternoon. Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Robert Marshall, R-O-B-E-R-T-M-A-R-S-H-A-L-L. I'm Fire Marshal with Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. Standing to my right here is Jim Crawford. He will introduce himself in a minute, but he is with CAL FIRE. So again, thank you everybody for coming. This morning, Contra Costa County Fire investigators, along with CAL FIRE investigators, made an arrest of 29-year-old James William Wilson of Bay Point on suspicion of arson, 451 PC-C, which is arson to wildland areas. He was brought in on 8 counts of arson, and there is also an enhancement because of the governor's declaration of emergency regarding wildfires. His bail has been set at $1 million currently, and he was booked into the Martinez detention facility in Martinez. The investigation was a cooperative effort between Contra Costa Fire investigators and CAL FIRE fire investigators. We are very lucky that we have a great working relationship with CAL FIRE and their investigators, and we work on numerous cases together. So when we were able to identify that there was a possible arsonist running around here, we were able to enlist their help, and some of these fires are within their state responsibility areas. In early April of this year, we noticed that there was a series of fires all around the Bay Point area. By late spring, they had spread out from the Bay Point area into other areas of Contra Costa County, including Highway 4 corridor, the Highway 24 corridor, and out along Marsh Creek Road. These fires affected citizens in Bay Point, Concord, Martinez, Pittsburgh, Orinda, Lafayette, Moraga, Walnut Creek, Clayton, and Brentwood. We had numerous fires that resulted in threats to life and property, and we knew that they were escalating, and so we needed to take action. The investigation is ongoing for this fire. We're still looking for tips, so if anybody has any information about any of the fires that have occurred since April, they are welcome to call our arson tip line. That is 1-866-50-ARSON, and they can call and leave a message there, and we can either get in contact with them or they can give us all of that information through there. We want to stress that if you suspect somebody of committing arson or you see a crime in progress, that we don't want the general public approaching those suspects, that their best course of action is to call 911 at that point. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Jim Crawford for the CAL FIRE perspective.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Crawford. I'm a division chief with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, for the Santa Clara unit. My name is Jim, J-I-M-C-R-A-W-F-O-R-D. As Robert mentioned, we've worked on this as a joint task force in collaboration with the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, as well as the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department and the county's district attorney office. Currently, we have an ongoing investigation, so a lot of details about the actual events that have occurred since April will not be brought up as part of this. We will be seeking additional information from our other local cooperators within the Bay Area, as well as the information that we've received as part of the task force as we go forward with the district attorney's office. Two things to mention in this as part of our continued efforts. To mention that we also have additional fires that continue throughout California. Currently, there are over 10,000 firefighters on the line today fighting fire. Regardless of jurisdiction, our federal, state, and local cooperators are working together to be able to protect life and property throughout California. And as it looks right now, our forecasts continue to show that we'll be in this kind of a situation as far as fire activity for some time. So the activity and the law enforcement activity that's occurred today has definitely helped with that. In California, CAL FIRE has worked in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies, and this arrest represents one arrest of 2 this week, as well as 3 in the last 2 weeks that have occurred where we've arrested an arson suspect in conjunction with a number of fires. Historically, our success in investigation and apprehension is reliant on our cooperation with local law enforcement officials as well as our local fire departments. Contra, Costa County Fire and CAL FIRE have a long ongoing relationship of working together collaboratively. We've had a number of arrests over the years in conjunction to arson arrests within the Contra, Costa County Fire Protection District. Arson is a more difficult crime to enforce. As such, our investigations take time. This process started in April, building a pattern, building a case, and working with our district attorney's office as well as our county fire department. This is the culmination of those events, but again, the investigation will continue. As part of the activities of the suspect, brush, grass, and landscaping, as well as outbuildings were threatened, including occupied residents within Contra Costa County. And then the last piece that I have really is that a continued effort needs to be applied by all residents and all citizens within California to provide defensible space and provide protection around their home. One less spark is an opportunity for one less fire to occur within California. Thank you.
So if there are any questions, we will take questions. Again, it is an ongoing investigation, so we may not be able to answer all of your questions that I'm sure you have, but we do have some of our investigators here, and we can try and answer as much as we can.
Can you tell us how you found him?
Can you give us some of the locations of these fires?
The fires basically occurred from between Bay Point along the Highway 4 corridor all the way through the Lafayette-Moraga-Orinda area, along Highway 24, and a lot of places in between.
Was he tied to that the Contra Loma District Park fire that happened, I think it was last month or the month before?
No.
Okay. Is there any specific ones we just try to...
Again, the west side of Highway 4 near Bay Point, there were a number of fires along there. Also along the Highway 24 corridor, as recently as a week ago. We had fires along that corridor as well.
What about the Ant fire on July 5th, the Bailey Road fire, Charles Hill Road, El Nido Ranch Road fire, any of those involved?
That's fine. We can address those individually after the general.
Yeah, after the general, we can address some of the specific fires that you have questions about.
Is there any pattern to it, daytime or nighttime?
We can discuss something.
So the majority of the fires occurred in the overnight hours, typically between midnight and 5 a.m.
So you said 8 charges?
Correct, 8 charges with an enhancement.
But do you believe that there are far more fires than 8?
We think that he may have been responsible upwards of 30 fires.
Can you talk a little bit about the way he might have set these fires, or was there a common link between the fires?
Investigators were able to identify some common characteristics, but we can't go into specifics of that right now because of the nature of the ongoing investigation.
Does he have a history of arson?
I don't believe we have any information about his past criminal history just yet.
What about mental illness? I mean, is there...
It's too early to tell anything about that. That's all part of the ongoing investigation.
How did you catch him? Where did you catch him?
We found...
If you mean where was he arrested?
Yeah.
At his residence.
The search warrant was effected yesterday with the judge. Today, this morning, Mr. Wilson was arrested without incident at his residence in Bay Point.
What led you to him?
A pattern of occurrences, his characteristics of what he did, along with the fire activity matching up to him.
Any witnesses?
Relatively the same time. I don't have information on witnesses that I can provide to you.
How were these fires set?
And I can't provide that to you as well because that has to do with the actual investigation. Because that would be information that's needed as part of the trial. We can't provide that to you.
You started in April. When did you start to suspect that you had at least some arsonists? And then when did you transition to, oh, this must be the same guy?
In April, soon in April, after having a handful or less of fires, we noticed a pattern. But as far as it tying it to one event, to one person or one suspect, I don't have that information. And there are likely or could be other investigations that continue on for other fires. So I can't. It's not all fires in Contra Costa County have occurred because of this one suspect. There may be other ongoing investigations that we need to protect as well.
Because I think that a lot of us, we didn't even know there was an arsonist on the booth.
And that's a great point. In the Santa Clara unit, as well as in the Contra Costa County, we respond to fires multiple times per day. Many of them are innocuous or small fires that are contained by one engine company or just a few engine companies, and so they are not necessarily notable to the media. That's not something we necessarily that you would get information on every single one of those fires.
So you're saying it was a series of smaller fires?
I'm not saying they were all small. What I'm saying is that it's likely some of them you would not know about because they were contained very quickly or very easily by the first due resources at the fire.
Sir, obviously there's malice in all of this, but what do you think motivated him to do it? Was it for fun? That he wanted to burn down structures and get crazy, hurt people? I mean, what was his intention?
I haven't
motivation?
met Mr. Wilson, so I don't have enough information to go on to tell you what caused that. There are a number of reasons why people commit arson. About a dozen or so different reasons for that, and so for me to tell you what incited him to do it would be hearsay.
Has he admitted to any of these crimes?
I don't have that information. He was, like I say, he was booked early this afternoon, and so we haven't really had a lot of opportunity to have a discussion with him.
Jim, within that general time frame,
I'm sorry.
within that general time frame, you had 30 plus fires that you believe he's connected to.
Yes.
How many fire incidents did you have during that time frame overall?
I don't have that information. I would say it's well over 30.
So he was the
50 or
reason
more.
for most of them, right?
Of those 30, yes.
Is there an estimate on, the acreage that
The
he-
total
yeah.
combined acreage of those fires? I don't have that either. Sorry.
No structures involved?
We did not have any structure loss. Or structure or outbuilding loss. It was all threat to structures and threat to outbuildings, but the loss of property in the sense of landscaping, brush, or grazing land.
How big was the biggest fire?
I don't have that. Sorry.
When did you first suspect that you might have a serial arsonist playing around?
In April.
In April.
What was it about that fire in April that made you suspicious?
What would take a number of fires that occurred in April to be able to set location, time of day, places we don't have other causes for fires to occur.
When you see someone in a drought setting fires, what's your emotional reaction?
Sure. Robert, why don't you take that?
It concerns us in a number of different ways. One thing is obviously we are in a drought and there are other fires around, and any fire that is started by an arsonist takes resources away from other fires that might have other threats or have started for accidental reasons. So that's one thing. When you're talking about the number of fires that we're talking about and the time of day that these fires are occurring, one of the things that we worry about is fatigue of the firefighters. They're having to get up in the middle of the night, they're having to go work very, very hard, and over time that wears on firefighters. And so we became very concerned about that because as firefighters get more and more tired, that results in injuries, that results in mistakes, that results in possibly really serious consequences.
Who made the arrest?
Contra Costa fire investigators along with CAL FIRE investigators made the arrest.
Just to follow up on a question that was asked recently, why did you guys decide to wait this long? I mean, you mentioned back in April you guys suspected. Now it's August. I mean, why wait this long to make that announcement? When
It takes a certain amount of time to identify a suspect and then put all the pieces in place before you actually go after somebody. We wanted to be sure that we had the right person, and at this point we are confident that we have the right person. There was a question earlier about the size of the largest fire. It was in the 40-acre range. was the size of the largest fire. Roughly in the period of time that we're talking about, we're talking between 70 and 100 fires during that time frame.
If you knew you thought you were looking for an arsonist and you suspected an arsonist, why not alert the public that you thought there was an arsonist?
Good question. The main reason is because we needed to keep that secret so that we could catch this person. The one thing we didn't want was for them to go into hiding and feel that we were onto them. So we kept that a secret. We used our investigative techniques to identify who that person was and then bring them to justice.
Does that process not incur the risk of more fires?
It does incur the risk of more fires, but again, we needed to figure out exactly where he was setting the fires and if it was even the same person. We try and counsel people on the dangers of fire and have them try to prepare for fire ahead of time by preparing defensible space, cutting weeds around their house, making sure that their homes are identified, and taking those proactive steps. And we've been very active with that message through all of the fires, as we are in any vegetation fire.
It just seems, to an objective observer, there may have also been a risk if you could get this person to stop setting fires by saying that you knew about it, allowing them to continue to set fires to find him. Can you balance that one out for us?
I'd be happy to answer that.
Yeah.
The first part of it is the investigation takes a preponderance of evidence to prove that that person undeniably started those fires. And the second part of that is if we make an announcement or if we have any doubt about that leads an opportunity for there to be doubt at the time when his trial will occur. And so there is a balance there. You're absolutely correct. There has to be a balance between fire activity and the arrest. And this is the point at which we felt that based on our judgment and based on our experience and knowledge that this was the time to make the arrest.
Did you find any evidence this morning that you could talk about?
The evidence that was collected this morning from his residence is still being processed. We do not have any information on particulars of the evidence that's there. And again, I'll mention that arson is a very difficult, very challenging type of violation to try to convict, to get through the conviction process. And because of that, it takes a preponderance amount of evidence to be able to make that occur.
You're describing a physical evidence collection. Do you have digital or other kinds of social media evidence or residue that was left, that added to, or was a component of your investigation?
There is, and it'll be collected as part of the investigation and used as part of the trial.
What is the suspect's occupation?
I don't have that information.
Hey, Jim, in assessing whether you've got an arsonist on your hands or not, was there the feeling that the kind of fires that were being set were not a danger to structures, to people? Was he setting the kind of fires that you felt like you didn't have to tell the public?
Based on the judgment of the lead investigator as well as those people that the lead investigator works for, that's why we made the arrest when we made the arrest. Because the threat versus the information that we needed to convict was finally reached.
When was the most recent fire that you suspect you may have been a part of?
Just this week.
This week?
Just this week, yes.
Jim, you mentioned that there was other arrests that were made this week. You said one of two?
Yes, outside the area, and I'm sorry, I don't have specifics. One was in Northern California, the Redding area, I believe, and that's the only other one I know about. I don't know about the one from last week.
An arsonist?
Yes.
Serial
All
arsonist?
three of them were related to similar activities as to occurred here in Contra Costa County.
What really was a worst case scenario if this guy continued? I mean, did you see a pattern that was kind of building towards something?
We can't really speak specifically to this case, but it is not unusual for serial arsonists to escalate at some point, and most do. They will start with small, seemingly harmless fires, but most of them are not harmless, and they will escalate, and there was some indication of escalation. I mean, the whole concern, and it's a dilemma investigators and firefighters deal with.
Thank you. This is Vic Massenkoff, one of the Contra Costa fire investigators.
So that is a dilemma that investigators and firefighters deal with in these cases, and we sometimes struggle with it, but we know that, first of all the fires have some degree of threat. We take all of them seriously, And of course, the public safety and the potential for damage and injury to the public is our foremost priority. But we also know that many of the serial arsonists, even if we didn't have the evidence to arrest them, which it takes quite a bit of work and resources and time to develop that strong of a case, if we were to approach them and just say, we know what you're up to, cut it out, most serial arsonists are very impulsive or compulsive, and all they will do is change the area, change their MO, and continue. A lot of them, not all, but some, they just can't help themselves. So we almost put ourselves in a tougher situation as far as the investigation, apprehending the serial arsonist, and we might even increase the danger to the general public if we take that approach. So, but it is a dilemma. We struggle with that throughout our investigations. The chief staff always makes the final say about here's where we draw the line, and it's something we deal with. But there are things we have to consider where doing that may actually make the situation worse.
And just to add on to what Investigator Massenkoff said, whenever you're dealing with something like wildfire, the best thing that people can do is be prepared for the fire to begin with, because you don't know if this is coming from an arsonist, if this is coming from a bird strike on a wire, if wires are going to fall for some reason, if we have a high wind event. There's a number of reasons that wildfire could start, and the best thing people can do is develop their defensible space, create that space around their home, and that is the safest thing for them to do, and it really doesn't matter what the cause of the fire is at that point. Any additional questions? Okay, I will be available, as will Chief Crawford will be available right after this. So if you guys have other things or you'd like to get us one-on-one, we are available for that. Again, I'd like to thank you all for coming out today. Also thank all the fire investigators from Contra Costa Fire and from CAL FIRE for their assistance in helping us catch this the suspect in this particular case. Thank you very much.